saying that when elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. In 2008, I traveled to my home country of Zimbabwe to participate in the harmonized elections and witnessed how the top-level contest for political leadership led to a crisis for grassroots communities, which left an estimated 240 people brutally murdered, 16,000 people raped, beaten or tortured, and hundreds of thousands intimidated, harassed and traumatized. The global political agreement has led to an inclusive government with a superficial reconciliation between top-level politicians, but at a grassroots level, the social fabric has been devastated and affected communities have been left with no support through their feelings of anger, fear and grief. The collapse of the medical services underlies the need for a community-driven, cost-effective approach to providing psychosocial support. Now, the Tree of Life is an organization that I have witnessed emerge from the grassroots. They are led not by politicians or by NGOs from the outside, but people on the ground themselves who have been victims of violence and who've come out of this 10-year conflict determined that what happened to them should happen never again. The Tree of Life understands that healing is necessary in Zimbabwe in order for us to break through the cycle of victimhood, anger and retribution. Now, the Tree of Life process combines storytelling, healing of spirit and reconnecting with the body to rebuild self-esteem and a sense of community. The tree is used as a framework for talking about your life, telling the story of your life. So the roots represent one's family, the trunk, one's childhood experience, the fruits, the high points, and the scars or the broken branches, the traumatic experiences or the disappointments. The circle is used as a framework for dialogue and emphasizes the interconnected, equal and participatory process, which is very much in contrast to the hierarchical structures that have led to dictatorship and oppression. Now, the experience of listening or community witnessing, particularly for people who've been through traumas, helps to reframe their perspective from that of an isolated victim to a member of a caring community. Now, since the first 8 victims of organized violence and torture participated in the Tree of Life workshop in 2003, the project has reached over 1,000 survivors. There are currently 45 participants who are becoming trained facilitators, and another 40 who are already trained and ready to spread the process to as many needy communities as possible. The Tree of Life has always operated with minimal funding support. In fact, in 2010, for a period of 8 months, they operated with no funding support at all. But the facilitators continue to meet and continue to deliver workshops, because for them, the Tree of Life is more than a job. They see themselves, and they are, guardians of an innovative and culturally appropriate process for community healing, which is going to put Zimbabwe in very strong stead when we're finally in a post-conflict state, because we're going to need grassroots transitional justice, and the Tree of Life process has already been used to create dialogue, forgiveness and healing. Now, on my solidarity visits to Zimbabwe, I've come across beneficiaries from the Tree of Life in many diverse settings, and all of them have testified that the process has helped to change their lives and move them from a place of disconnection and despair to a place of healing and empowerment. The project has grown very much from a need on the ground and from constant requests from community groups and from church groups for help. And in the last 3 years, the facilitators have really consolidated strong partnerships with 11 civil society organizations and with 5 peri-urban and rural communities. Now, even the mid-level authorities have bought into the process and approved workshops to be held at a district and at a provincial level. So these are people who are working within the government hierarchy who have bought in because they can see the need on the ground amongst the communities. Even groups that have been involved in violence as perpetrators have requested and received and benefited from Tree of Life workshops. But one request that the Tree of Life has received time and again is from communities to help them with a younger generation who oftentimes are secondary victims of violence. That is, they've observed their parents be persecuted or attacked. In addition, in Zimbabwe, because of the collapse of the education system, there are over 160,000 young people who drop out of primary school every year and can find no employment. So in 2008, there were a lot of young people who joined violent political groups in order to find protection or the necessary social support. Now, this proposal to the funding network provides the Tree of Life with a vital and very much needed opportunity to finally address this request from communities. That is to develop a process that specifically caters to the needs of disadvantaged young people who have been exposed to violence. The Tree of Life have identified 15 young people through one of their partner organizations who've held a youth leadership workshop for them over a year. And these young people have been identified by their rural communities, specifically because they are disadvantaged. They come from broken homes or child-headed families. Some of them are primary or secondary victims of violence, and all of them are of the demographic that is vulnerable to being enlisted as perpetrators. Your support today will allow the Tree of Life to train these young people and accompany and support them to return to their communities as peace builders.
Chico, thank you very much indeed.
Wow.